Well, this is a major reversal of British foreign policy, and I think could be rightly described as the biggest foreign policy disaster since Suez, in the sense that what it's done is it's exposed the failure or the inability to sustain the intent that we had set ourselves. Now, that's pretty striking, and friends and allies around the world will have watched it. This didn't happen in absence. As you know, this has been all over the global media. And people will have seen those chaotic scenes from Kabul, and they will be asking themselves, quite understandably, what does an alliance with the United States mean? What does an alliance with Great Britain mean? And so this is a moment when we have to think extremely hard about what it is that we're trying to achieve around the world and making sure that we absolutely resource it, because we cannot afford this sort of incident to happen often.
Good morning to you. I mean, we've heard over recent days other former servicemen, Johnny Mercer, Rory Stewart, Tobias Ellwood, hugely critical of the way the government has handled this. But the suspicion is that within the next few days, as Boris Johnson recalls Parliament, he'll be talking there tomorrow morning, you'll all have to toe the line again, won't you?
Well, you can look at my record on commenting on government policy, and you can decide whether or not that's likely. The reality is that I'm going to keep talking about the Britain's interest and the interest of the British people, because the reality is our interest, us as citizens of this country, is to make sure that we have a world in which we can trade and travel as freely and fairly as possible. Now, that's not possible if we're abandoning allies and we're standing aside from our friends. And so what I'm going to be talking about, again, is investing hard in our foreign capabilities and making sure that we actually are creating a realistic opportunity for ourselves. Now, I've been very critical about our investment in multilateral organizations. I've been very critical about our breaches of the rule of international law, and I will continue to speak out in what I think is Britain's best interest.
I just want to get your take on this programme that Boris Johnson is going to be focusing on, which will be helping the vulnerable women and girls in particular. Your thoughts on this? And I guess he's got to do this, hasn't he?
Well, look, I've been speaking to the Home Secretary and to the Defence Secretary about this, and I have to say both of them have devoted an enormous amount of energy to this. So I have to say I've been extremely impressed with the outline plan that I've been speaking to Priti Patel about, and I look forward to seeing some meat on the bone. Now, Tom Harwood was right there. This will probably be modelled on something like the Syria plan, because what we don't want to do is we don't want to use this as an opportunity to enrich people traffickers. We want this to use this as an opportunity to ensure that those people to whom we owe a duty are recognised and able to move to the United Kingdom.
The concern on the global scale about all this is that we are a country diminished by what has just happened in Afghanistan, that China, particularly Russia, are going to make the most of this and point at us and say, look, we can't be relied upon. And they're right, aren't they?
Well, it's certainly true that countries like Russia and China are going to exploit this. And the idea that withdrawing from Afghanistan in this chaotic fashion in any way allows the United States to focus better on China it is a bit like a boxer claiming that he lost the first 3 rounds in order to be fit for the 4th. I mean, it doesn't hold water. This is really daft. So what we need to do now is to make sure that we solidify our allies. And that means actually investing in foreign affairs, seriously investing in foreign affairs with a real strategy and real engagement. And that means calling people. It means travel. It means investing in our diplomatic network. And yes, it means actually spending some money, I'm afraid.
And I just want to get your thoughts, Tom, on presumably you heard Joe Biden's speech and his sort of blaming everybody else but himself, especially the Afghan political leaders who've sort of fled the country. What did you make of the speech in general?
Well, look, the last 3 United States presidents have taken unilateral decisions without even consulting the government of Afghanistan. So it's a little bit rich for the current president to be critical. You know, the Obama administration announced a withdrawal before speaking to the president of Afghanistan. The Trump administration negotiated for the release of Taliban prisoners, people who had killed Afghans, without even talking to the government of Afghanistan. I mean, can you imagine if a US president negotiated for the release of the IRA or for IRA sovereignty over Northern Ireland in the 1980s during the bombing campaign? Can you imagine what we would have said about it? who had been furious, and rightly so. But that's what President Trump did. And now President Biden has withdrawn. In fact, his troops in early July left overnight without even telling their Afghan partners they were leaving. So that people turned up, Afghan military officers, people who worked in the base in Bagram turned up to work, and it was like that saloon bar where everybody's gone. But this isn't the way you behave. So I'm afraid I don't buy President Biden's criticism.
Just wondering, looking at those dreadful pictures from the Kabul airport, the scenes of people clambering on planes that then take off, and you see those pictures of people falling thousands of feet to their death. I mean, what was your reaction to that?
I can't imagine the desperation that would make somebody knowingly try to hang on to a moving aircraft. They know these people aren't stupid. They know the danger, but they also know the danger of staying behind. I'm afraid it struck me that this war has been marked by two horrific images. One is of people falling from buildings in New York, knowing the danger of falling, but also knowing the reality of the flames that were reaching up in the World Trade Center. And now we're seeing the image of people falling from aircraft. I mean, it's heartbreaking.
I mean, finally, do you have any faith in the Taliban? Are we seeing a new Taliban? Can we give them the benefit of the doubt, do you think?
No. They are currently knocking on doors in Kabul, in Kandahar and in Lashkar, rounding up people I know who are texting me through the night, who I'm trying to get out of the country as quickly as I possibly can. They're knocking on their doors, they're dragging some of them out, and they're murdering them in the streets and leaving their bodies in the gutter. This is the same Taliban. It's richer, it's more powerful, it's bigger, it's got more international support, but it's the same Taliban. It's still partnered with Al-Qaeda. It's still partnered with ISIS. And those countries like Russia and China that think that they've done a deal with some new Taliban, all they've done is thrown a bit of meat at a crocodile in the hope that it will eat them last.
Welcome to the GB News YouTube channel. You can watch us live 24 hours a day, catch up on your favourite shows, and join in the conversation in the comments below.
Don't forget to subscribe and you'll never miss any of our exclusive content.